Hello and welcome to another session of Karen's Colours. I'm Dr. Karen and these are my colour conversations. The world has been a fairly hectic place in the last month and it's left many of us down in the dumps somewhat. So this time I thought I might organise another film. This one is the collaboration between the United States and the United Kingdom. It was released in 1988 and became the highest grossing British film of all time. Overall, it was the 7th highest grossing film worldwide in its release year, and it hit the #1 spot in both the US and Canada. It's the most popular rental video of 1989, and basically it's a comedy. A heist comedy. It features betrayal and seduction, a little bit of animal cruelty, which is more imagined than real, and some mild farcical violence. The film is A Fish Called Wanda. If you haven't seen it, I can highly recommend it. But before we get started, I'd like to thank those of you who have been following this channel. My subscribers are always welcome for another session, and if you're new to this channel, you are doubly welcome. If you like what you see, please hit the like, perhaps even subscribe. It's free. And now, let's get into it, shall we? This film received multiple awards for its time. There was an Academy Award for the Best Supporting Actor by Kevin Kline, a BAFTA Award for the Best Leading Actor of John Cleese. Jamie Lee Curtis won the BAFTA for Best Supporting Actress, and Michael Palin, now Sir Michael Palin, won the BAFTA for Best Supporting Actor. The main characters in order of appearance were Archie Leach QC, which was played by John Cleese. He's an unhappily married barrister for George, the leader of the gang. Then we have Wanda Gershowitz, a lover to both George and a seducer of Archie, and she is also the sister, supposedly, and lover of Otto. This was played by Jamie Lee Curtis. Then we have Otto West, the role played by Kevin Kline. He's a psychotic, so-called intellectual hitman. And then we have Ken Pyle, Michael Palin, who is George's trusted sidekick and an animal lover. And finally, there is a small partner who is Archie's socialite wife, and around whom much of the comedy revolves. Let's now look briefly at some of the plot elements. Firstly, George, Wanda, Ken, and Otto are planning a jewel heist. George hides the jewels from Wanda and Otto by removing them from the place where they had hidden it immediately after the robbery. Wanda and Otto plot to betray George and are able to point the police in his direction so that he is jailed. Then they discover that the jewels are not in the agreed safe. George manages to hide the key and eventually pass it on to Ken to a safety deposit box. And he also charges him to kill an old lady who was a witness to their getaway. Wanda sees where Ken has hidden the key and steals it, but George won't tell her where the jewels are. There are multiple attempts to seduce Archie, who is George's lawyer, and Otto continually foils the seduction due to his own jealousy. The locket containing the key is found by Wendy, Archie's wife, and she has no intention of giving it up. She likes it, so she's going to keep it. Ken's attempts at murder involve killing of the old lady's 3 dogs in 3 different episodes, and the elderly woman eventually dies. Wanda demands that Archie retrieve her locket, and Otto, very jealous, threatens violence on Archie and at one stage has him hanging upside down out of a window. Wanda berates Otto and insists that he apologize. So Otto goes to do so, but finds someone robbing Archie's house and in his inimicable way foils that. Then he discovers that the man robbing the house is Archie himself, and he flees the site. Archie manages to retain the locket and returns to Wanda at his friend's flat. Wanda is turned on by foreign accents, and so as they're getting ready for a little bit of lovemaking, Archie speaks in Russian, which really has a wonderful effect on Wanda. But their progress is interrupted by a family who are renting the flat. Ken visits George and tells him about the successful death of the old lady, for which George is extremely ecstatic. He orders Ken to organize for a flight for the four of the co-conspirators, and Wanda, when she is told, is also highly elated and then leaves Ken to testify in court for George. Otto immediately appears and tortures Ken to find out exactly where the jewels have been hidden. The information is given by Ken when Otto eats all of the fish, including the fish called Wanda. Wanda betrays George in court, and George attacks Wanda in the melee, but she manages to escape and George is recaptured. During all this drama, Wendy, who has been watching from the gallery, realizes that Archie and Wanda are lovers and demands a divorce after slapping him. George tells Archie that Ken knows where the jewels are, and Wanda makes her escape from the courthouse, where Archie collects her and takes her to Ken's flat. When he goes inside, Otto steals the car with Wanda still inside of it, and they head for the place where the jewels are kept. Archie rescues Ken and discovers the jewels' location. Both of them follow Wanda and Otto to Heathrow Airport, where Wanda and Otto are already entering the departure lounge. But Wanda betrays Otto by knocking him out and locking him in a room, and then she attempts to phone Archie to tell him where she is. Not to be outdone, Otto escapes the confines of the room by blasting his way out of it with his gun, and then, after an altercation, catches Archie and threatens to kill him. But Ken has managed to obtain a large concrete roller and runs over Otto. Immediately afterwards, he realizes that he had finally lost his stutter, and he too is ecstatic. Archie boards the plane, he and Wanda reconcile, and as the plane is taking off, Otto hangs on outside but falls off when the plane leaves Heathrow. So let's now move on to the colour analysis. The analysis for this film is going to be restricted to the characters' costumes, and only the colour change is accounted, not the number of scenes, because the same costumes appear in multiple scenes. Lighting will also influence the colour perception, and that is important for the themes that those colours represent. Comedies often use multiple colour schemes, and these are usually restricted to the female characters. The male colours are associated with comedic activities, and like many films with multiple male lead characters, black predominates. And in this film, black predominates due to the attire that is associated with the male characters' professions. Because black is so dominant, I've divided it into the black worn by male characters and the black worn by female characters. Yet altogether, black appears in 17 costumes. For the males, there are 9 costumes. Firstly, the robes of the British legal profession, of which Archie is a member. Then we have Archie's formal suit. We have the garments of Otto's strongman persona, the disguise, the four co-conspirators for the jewel heist, Ken's riding jacket as he disposes of their costumes for the jewel heist, Ken's jacket visiting George in jail, and again, Ken's t-shirt while he is hiding the key, and also the special costume that he wears in black while he is releasing a vicious dog for the first attempt at murdering the old lady. And finally, Archie himself wears a different black disguise when he is robbing his own house. In each of these instances, the black on these male characters are formal encounters. There's a rigidity of emotional state, and there is also the threat of danger that is depicted in these colours. For the females, black appears in 8 of those 17 costumes. There is the introductory attire that's worn by Wanda for no specific reason, but it's basically black. Then we have Portia's riding jacket. Portia is Archie's daughter and quite an entitled young miss. Then we have Wanda's seduction garments, the one that she wears pre-heist, the underwear that she wears to seduce Otto, and also the dress she wears to seduce Archie at his house. Wendy also wears black as the attire for her outing to the opera, which is aborted early. The old woman mourning for her dead dog is wearing black, and she does so again for the death of the second dog. And finally, Wendy again appears in black. This time it's a black and white outfit for her court appearance when she watches and uncovers Archie's infidelity. Here, for the women, black represents deception and an exposure to an unpleasant reality. The next most prominent colour is blue, and here we have 12 costumes, 5 of which come from male characters. We see blue firstly as the undershirt that Ken wears at the meeting of the 4 conspirators when they plot their jewel heist. Ken also wears a blue riding helmet when he disposes of their costumes, and George's shirt when he is in the courthouse is also blue. Archie's shirt when he is with Wanda and then confronted by Otto is also blue. And then we also have Ken in a blue shirt during the torture scenes when Otto is finding out where the jewels are kept. For these males, blue represents diligence, but it also represents an inability to provide or obtain information. 7 out of the 12 costumes that are blue are worn by women, and mainly they're worn by Wanda. Here she has blue jeans on after the jewel heist. Here she wears a blue towel on her head as an excuse disguise to make Ken think that she is alone in the flat. When she is trying to discover where the key fits, she's wearing a blue dress. She also wears a blue dress on her visit to Archie's office. And blue also features on Wendy as the dress she wears for her bedtime sequence, her shirt at breakfast time with Archie, and also her jacket after the burglary in which she finds Archie lying on the floor. For the females, the blue is all about misdirection that has been encountered and the seeking of explanation. Again, it's basically about communication. The next most prominent costume colour is grey. And although grey doesn't appear as often as black, it certainly has similar connotations. Ken wears a grey t-shirt when introducing us to his favourite fish, also called Wanda. George has a grey suit for the meeting where the jewel heist is being planned. And Ken's trousers when he comes back from visiting George in jail and has the key to the jewellery box is also grey. Otto's shirt and trousers for once are not black but grey after he's visited George in jail. And Ken's coveralls when he is disguised as some sort of official in the old lady's flat is also grey. Ken's jacket and sling after having been attacked by the vicious dog that he set upon the old lady's first dog is also grey, only this time it's a much lighter grey. Archie wears a grey vest and tie in the evening where Wendy has to abort her opera visit. Archie's trousers when he's hanging upside down outside the flat are also grey. Wendy has a grey shirt when she returns from her outing and finds Archie prostrate on the floor. And Archie's jacket when he is returning Wanda's locket is also grey. And finally, we see Ken again in grey trousers when he is being tortured by Otto for information. In all of these grey costumes, we're dealing with unusual or unexpected results from actions that have been taken. Coming in at 10 costumes, we have 4 of them worn by males and 6 by females. The colour this time is white. Ken's sweater at the heist meeting is the first time we see a character in white. We also see white as part of the formal attire for Archie's shirt and cravat as he is costumed as a barrister. Otto's sword practice outfit is also white, and Ken's eye patch, and later we see the bandage around his head after the second attempt at killing the old lady, are also in white. For the women, we see Wendy in her night attire, and when she refuses to return the locket, she's also wearing a white dress. This time it has touches of blue and orange, and so we also have the connotations of those colours in this particular outfit. Her skirt, after she discovers Archie on the floor after the burglary, is also white. And when she is eavesdropping on the altercation between Otto and Archie, she's also wearing a white nightdress. When she appears in court, she's wearing a black and white patterned dress. And the dress that Wanda wears for her flight away from Heathrow, she's also wearing white. In this situation, the white indicates some sort of response to an unpleasant reality. Coming in at 7 costumes, and this time only worn by women, we see Wanda in a short orange and black jacket greeting George when he arrives for the meeting about the jewel heist. Wendy also wears a patterned orange and white dress when we first meet her. Wanda's dress at the heist meeting itself is also orange, as is her jacket when she's visiting George in jail. Her negligee when she's flirting with Otto is orange, and when she goes into court in disguise, she's wearing a very pale form of that very same orange. And finally, she's wearing an orange and black dressing gown when Otto appears unexpectedly to visit her to ask for information. In this instance, orange refers to excitement, expectancy, and drama, and actually enhances her role as part of the conspiracy. Pink as a costume item appears only 4 times. Now, the first time it's not actually worn by a character, but it does play an important role. And this is when Ken steals a garment from the old lady that is coloured pink in order to facilitate his attack upon her. Portia's dress worn to the aborted opera visit is also pink, and it's in this dress that she discovers the locket. Wanda's jacket and the roses on her black and pink dress when visiting Archie's flat, and in this instance she is attempting to have Archie return the locket to her. Their final scene together in the same flat has Wanda wearing again a dress with multiple patterns of roses on it, which are all pink. The pink in these costumes is a feigned innocence. There are ulterior motives attached to this colour, and it's also a supplication. I want something, what can I get if I'm wearing pink? Surprisingly, red only appears in 3 costumes, and they're all worn by the men. George has a red shirt on in the meeting for the heist organisation, and he also has a red tie when he is greeted by the police prior to his arrest. And Ken's second attempt to murder the old lady has him wearing a red hat as part of his disguise. Now, that doesn't give us a lot to go on, but definitely in each case, red indicates some form of dominance and control over a situation, even when it's not a very good control, but it also indicates risk-taking. Brown also occurs as part of 3 costumes. Firstly, the old lady walking her dogs is seen in brown on multiple occasions. Wanda's jacket when she and Otto are organising for George's arrest is also brown. And the old lady's dress and apron that she's wearing when Ken is visiting her house and trying to find out how he can help destroy her is also in brown. Now, brown is all goal-directed behaviour and practical application or practical actions that are associated with those goals. Yellow appears only twice as a costume colour. Firstly, as Archie's sweater as he's having breakfast with Wendy, and she's giving him information that he should be paying attention to but isn't. And also, Wanda is wearing a yellow dress when she gives her evidence in court as a witness, supposedly for George's defence, but in fact lies and has him incarcerated even longer. For this colour, yellow represents new information that's being made available. In this scene, Wanda's yellow dress allows her to discover that Otto has indeed found where the jewels are being kept, and because she has the key, they now have the opportunity to head out and collect those jewels. Green appears only once as more of a turquoise, but nevertheless more green than blue, in the dress that she wears visiting George in jail, and then taking the opportunity to meet Archie. So because it's only one instance, we can only surmise what it represents for her in the second scene. It is opportunism. There is also one other issue that arises that isn't really a colour, but all the same is important for the film, and that is nudity. Otto admires himself before he and Wanda engage in sexual congress. And Archie also, in preparation for sexual congress, strip dances in the flat. These displays of male nudity are all about vanity and self-absorption. They're not really aware of the other person that is there with them. So how do we summarize these colors? Well, black is all about disguises and hidden motivations. Blue uncovers information that has been withheld, but also has to do with dissembling, the desire not to give out accurate information. Grey is about managing confusion and uncertainty in situations where these arise. White is always an encounter with the real world, whether that be a pleasant or an unpleasant world. Orange is an intrusive reality that needs to be controlled in some way. Pink is a feigned submission or innocence that obtains a goal without necessarily having to do anything. Red is all about engaging in risky business. Brown is working on personal goals and ambitions in a very practical way. Yellow is all about knowledge that has been received, whether it is desired or not. Green is taking advantage of a situation. And finally, nudity is all about self-love and satisfaction of one's own desires. And that brings us to the end of the film. I certainly hope you've enjoyed this colour analysis and very brief synopsis. I have been told by a personal message from one of my subscribers that I spoiled too much of the plot, so I've tried not to do that this time round. I don't know what film I'm going to be looking at next, but if you have a preference, please let me know in the comments below, and I shall certainly make every endeavour to get hold of that film for you. In the meantime, may colour fill your life and bring you an elevation of mood so that you're not quite as down in the dumps as we all have been in this last month. Until next time, bye.